This is kind of an interesting, it's really a neat story. Totally a God thing. So let me share that with you now. So I just got back from my parents and I brought home new critters again. Hello, bunnies. So good to be home. Have Adeline milk for my coffee. It's nothing like home, right? So that was a bit of a whirlwind trip. 3 hours there yesterday and 3 hours home today. But yeah, so here we are. Now we have rabbits. So I gotta tell you, I had not planned on getting any new animals this year. I mean, breed the ones we have, but beyond that, I had no plans for new animals. But this is kind of an interesting, it's really a neat story. Those rabbits are totally a God thing. So let me share that with you now. Okay, so last year we talked a lot about how we were planning to convert our chicken flock over to dual purpose with black silver Marans as our breed of choice. And long story short, we tried hatching a bunch of black silver Marans last year to replace a bunch of our layers. And of all the eggs that I got from my friend, only 4 of them ended up hatching. 2 cockerels and I believe 2 pullets. One of the pullets didn't make it too far before she drowned herself in the goat trough. And then the other pullet, just before she was about to start laying, I just went in the coop one day and found her dead. So that left Jenny, our favorite hen. Even Mike loved Jenny. Jenny was just the absolute sweetest. She was practically a pet who laid eggs. I mean, she would follow us around the yard, always wanted to be with us. I mean, I would go out to do my devotions in the morning. She'd just sit under my chair, keeping company. So she was sweetest hen ever. Well, by time the cockerels were old enough to start breeding, she had started molting for the year at last fall. So she had started molting, so wasn't laying anymore. So we were going to have to wait till this spring before we started hatching her eggs for a new flock. So winter came and went, spring came, most of the chickens had, grown back their feathers in the winter and started laying again really well, but Jenny never did. And it took her a long time to get all of her feathers back. Like even the early spring, she still had some bare spot pots. She did finally get those back, and I kept waiting and waiting, and no Jenny eggs. None of those dark chocolate eggs showing up in the nest box. Next thing you know, I started noticing that her comb and her wattles were really dark, almost purple, and they looked like they had kind of atrophied, they gotten smaller. And at some point, I think earlier in late winter, I had noticed, but then just completely left my mind, forgot that she almost felt like she was getting some water belly, some fluid buildup in her abdomen. And between that and the purple comb, we concluded that she probably was in heart failure. I spoke to my friend that I gotten the eggs from, and she said, yeah, a couple of hers had died from heart failure as well. Yeah, so she started slowing down. With a lack of good blood supply, she just did not have enough energy to forage, so she was eating a lot less and just slowly wasting. And then one day I noticed she was just kind of laying on her side out by the feed dish instead of eating. I kind of left her there, but then it started raining several minutes later. So I went back out to check if she had moved out of the rain, and she had not. So I brought her in the garage so she'd have a comfortable, dry place to be. And a few days after that, she passed away. So now we are without any black silver Marans hens for our breeding program. So basically at this point we have 2 roosters but no hens. So our breeding plans for that dual purpose black silver Marans just went down the toilet. And I had looked earlier in the year for some other hens before we knew about Jenny. And yeah, like nobody in the area is breeding them anymore. And very few people in the country, it seems, are breeding them. So that just kind of seemed to went out the window. And I had thought about rabbits several times throughout the past couple of years, but I thought, why do I need another white meat? You know, we've got chickens. Ducks have darker meat, but it's still white meat, you know. And the quailing, I don't really need another white meat producer, so I just kept writing it off. Well, when all this went down with Jenny, I thought, well, maybe clearly this isn't working. Maybe we just need to take a different approach, step back, look at options for meat production. And just out of curiosity, just to see, okay, if we were to go this route, what would it cost? So I started looking on Facebook Marketplace and stuff for like cages and things like that. And our area is a little too close to the big city, so it's harder to find things. But where my mom lives, not so much. And I actually ended up finding a steal of a deal on some cages that my mom was able to go pick up for me. And I had, been talking to her about these. And then the very next time she was at church, she was just in casual conversation with this couple at their church. And just out of the blue, this other couple mentioned, oh yeah, we have a bunch of baby meat rabbits that we're going to have to be selling soon. And she's like, really? So she related that to me and gave me their phone number, and I called them up, just asked them questions. I like knowing things, all the things before jumping into something. So I was talking to them on the phone and asking about their rabbits and, how they care for them and all of these things. And he was like, well, how many were you wanting to start out with? I'm like, well, I would probably just do like a breeding trio. He's like, oh, well, if you just want 3, I'll just give them to you. You don't have to pay me for them. Yeah. So here we are. We have a breeding trio that God just got it dropped in our lap here. And I think he's going to stop letting me visit my parents if I keep bringing home animals like this. We did end up hatching a bunch of chicks out, despite not having a single breed, just because a lot of our hens are getting older. So a lot of these pullets will replace them for egg production, and then the cockerels will be meat in the freezer. I tried to pick out the breast eggs best I could, and of course the roosters are the black silver Marans, but I think there's a couple of other random mixes in there too. Time will tell, I suppose, once they get feathers. When I was up getting the rabbits, I was also able to get the rest of these cages that didn't fit my mom's car when she visited earlier this month. So now that we have them, we can go ahead and put some legs on them and get their permanent structure finished. while he finishes up this last screw here. These are just standard hanging rabbit cages. They can run kind of expensive new, but like I said, we got a really, really awesome deal on these, and these are like the biggest size I think that I've seen. So lots of room for them to move around. Then we just putting these legs on there for them to stand up, and we have these frames here with screen on them. The purpose of that is rabbit poop is garden gold. So the idea is that urine will fall through to the ground, but the screen will allow the poop to roll off into, we're gonna put a, what is that called? A gutter on the front of here to catch said poop and put it over into a bucket for us so we can use it in the garden. So here we go, our finished rabbit hutches. They have been working really well for us. Hey guys, hello bunnies, how are you? These guys are doing really good. This is our buck over here and our two does. Let me tell you about this cage. I kind of showed you a little bit of us putting it together. It was so simple, so quick and easy, which I really loved. These little poop catch trays here down into this gutter, and then we'll got a bucket over here to kind of scooch, get it into. We probably need to adjust our angles just a little bit because the screen on here isn't like super like guitar string taut. It does tend to kind of collect and catch on there. We had some hay up in here when we first put them in because their feet were so small. But yeah, it kind of collects there because it does sag just a tiny bit. So we might need to adjust, make that a little bit steeper of an incline. Same with the gutter here. But it's really super easy to just use a trowel or something to kind of scrape it down to the gutter and then down the way into the bucket. So it's really not a big deal. We may or may not change it. We'll see. But yeah, overall, it's working really well. You hear the quail over here. This is where the quail cage used to be. We've moved them over here now because their cage was shorter and would fit on this side where the rabbit cage would not. So we had to do some adjusting, a lot of leveling up of the ground on both sides, especially over here. We had to use cinder blocks and stuff because this is just quite a slope here. But it's working really well. We're really enjoying it. I think the quail over here like a little bit better because these ones on the end used to be up in the corner and not able to see out as much, and now they can. I think they're really enjoying that. So we're fairly full over here right now. Most of these guys on the top are adults from last year, and then some of them in this cage are new females from our first batch this year. The males that we have up there on both cages are new from this year, and then we have quite a few little ones in here right now. So pretty soon we'll need to separate them out, boys and girls. And then there's two more in here that were, hey guys, that were from our second batch. They were just a little, these are the only two boys that we had in the second batch. They were a little too young to process when we did that. So they probably are now. Yeah, so quail are doing fairly good. I'd like them to lay more eggs, but these younger ones should be starting soon. So hopefully that will increase pretty quickly. Hello, girls. How are you? How are you, big boo? Hello. You gonna let me pet you? Good boy. Good bunny. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little, I guess you could say just testimony of God's leading and direction on our homestead here. We do try to seek His will and His guidance in all things because without it, nothing ain't gonna work. So obviously we will share a lot more about these little cuties as time goes on, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you. I'm sure you are as well. So until then, I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you then.